Hello, everyone. Welcome to the third edition of Korkie's Corner. This week, we will be covering the top five ugliest jerseys as a follow up to our second episode, where we ranked the top five best jerseys, which was very controversial, to be honest. I don't know if this one will be as controversial. And then we will be debating on whether or not Brind'Amour belongs in the Hall of Fame, because, of course, he was unjustly snubbed this past year when you look at the criteria. Joining me
We will see if it's unjustly snubbed, John.
It is. So joining me today is, of course, my co-host, writer of Ice Cold and Deadly, working on the upcoming projects, The Bettman Conspiracy and Seeking Sad Guru, my dad, Mike Korkie.
It's great to be here, John.
Alrighty, so how do you want to start with this top five ugliest jerseys? Do you want to one more thing before we go. uh, Taylor Hall got traded to Chicago. So it looks like Taylor Hall will be getting to play with a generational talent. I think that's the first time in his career he's had the opportunity to play with a generational talent. So,
Yeah, he did play with McDavid, so I think we'll see how that compares. But he didn't really mesh with McDavid, to be honest, when he played with him. So we'll see if he's a better fit with Bedard.
yep, we'll see. So, do you want to go first, Dad, or do you want me to go first with your number five for ugliest jersey of all
Yeah,
time?
you go number five, ugliest.
All right. So this one is a little bit of a olive branch. Let me just see here. All right, not I do. All right, so let me just yep. There we go. Share. Da, 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 da. So, let me just go. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, the tab moved without my knowing. All right, so this is not my number five. Oops, sorry about that, everyone. Technical difficulties here. There we go. Da, 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 da. All right, starting with
All that time we spent on a pre-production meeting, John, and you just can't get it right. But
I was trying to invite you into the chat, so that is my bad. But here is my number five. This is indeed an olive branch, where last week I was thinking about giving it to Vegas, the Vegas home or the Mooterist jersey came to mind. I think the Meth Tiger I also had thought about going on, but because I did rank a Hurricanes jersey at number one, even though I don't think it's the fifth worst jersey of all time, it is definitely close. Would have cracked my top 10, but here it is. The busyness of the logo doesn't match what they were trying to do with the cleanness of the jersey. The black collar clashes with the rest of the jersey. The red pants just adds way too much red. There's no any kind of coloring other than red and white. They basically tried to be Detroit, but Detroit done really badly. Do you have any thoughts on this jersey, Dad, or not?
uh, I couldn't. I think this is the Canes' nicest red jersey, so
Oh my God.
I couldn't
No.
disagree more.
That is the ugliest Canes jersey of all time. I remember when I was playing the video game, I would literally just switch to any other Canes jersey. That's just a massive L for you for thinking that that is the indeed the ugliest Canes jersey of the prettiest red Canes jersey of all time. You're just wrong. All right. Well,
I can't help you have bad taste. Okay.
your taste is terrible if you like that jersey. Even if
It
you think,
says, hang on, enable screen sharing so I can share mine.
okay, my bad. See, this is why we shouldn't have rushed into it, Dad. All right. All right. Let me just go. Da, da, da. There we go. It should be good now.
All right. I believe you just mentioned this particular jersey, and I would say about Dallas Stars branding is unlike some other teams that have some really good and some really bad. Dallas just always seems to come up with shitty brands. And this is their worst jersey by far. I don't know exactly what they think they're trying to accomplish here, but as you said, it is known as the Mooterus because it does look like a uterus, and it's very busy. And the colors, you can black jerseys are kind of a cheat code. They figured out a way to screw that up. So that's my choice for number five.
I
Thoughts?
agree. I think it is ugly. I think the biggest crime is Mike Modano had to wear that jersey. I think he even tweeted about that a few years ago. He's like, "Yeah, I did wear this. That is me wearing it." So It is absolutely up there for one of the ugliest jerseys of all time. I mean, I can't disagree. It's probably one of the worst logos in hockey, but because it was only ever the logo on an alternate jersey, it kind of gets overlooked.
Yep.
So,
All right. Speaking of alternate jerseys, here's my number four worst of all time.
alrighty.
It's an absolute travesty that the greatest player in hockey history had to wear this jersey. They might as well. I know that they're going for a freaking sash here, but like they might as well just have worn a sash, right? Like it would look better than whatever this thing is here. I don't mind the logo, like it kind of somewhat reminiscent of the Senator guy, and it's horrible. But the way they put this all together, uh, it's typical of LA just trying to over shoot too far, and when they could have just kept it simple, and this was the result of that.
Yeah, no disagreements here. I'll get more into it because let me just share my screen again here. Because coming in at my number four, if the Zoom will move out of my way so I can so I can click on it. Thank you, Zoom. Wait, just gonna more. How do I hide this freaking menu? There we go. All right. Sorry for is indeed this exact same jersey was my number four. It's really bad. Of course, I wanted to find a picture of Wayne Gretzky wearing it because Wayne Gretzky was forced to wear it. Um, I I really don't like how the socks don't match. It's probably the one jersey where the shoulder patch actually makes the jersey worse, like the alternate logo on the shoulder. Normally those look great on jerseys. Here, it doesn't clash because of the purple. I like what they had in mind with the purple because my favorite LA Kings brand of all time is what's called the coat of arms jersey, where they purple was the primary color with black and silver accents. So they had what was later on proven to be a great color scheme and just ruined it with the gradient, ruined it with the sash. The Burger King logo is actually not too terrible, but Dad, you and I agree this is absolutely the worst jersey the LA Kings have ever worn, and Wayne Gretzky indeed had to wear it.
Yep. So we couldn't be much more in agreement. We even had it placed in the same spot. So,
Yeah.
all right, go ahead and do your number three.
Number three is what's called, I don't know if a lot of people remember this jersey, but I call it the barber pole jersey. It's a throwback, and that's the best thing you can say about it. It's just way too busy. It's just, I mean, the logo looks like a Leaf jersey because the Toronto Maple Leafs kind of took that branding. The blue pants, gloves, and helmets are nice, and they don't like, but yeah, it's just a bad jersey. The way too many striping, kind of the crime a lot of really old hockey jerseys follow. And I think there was one time they wore it with brown pants, which made it even worse. But I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this jersey.
I had it in consideration for my top five worst. I found some others that were worse, but one thing I would say about this is you shouldn't, when you look at a team's jersey, even if it's a throwback, you shouldn't be confused as to which team you're looking at, and you would have no idea that this is the Montreal Canadiens if you just if someone just said which team is this. I guarantee 95% of people would think it's the Leafs.
Yeah, yeah, couldn't agree more. It's truly just a monstrosity. I get what they were going for, but they didn't nail it. All right, Dad, why don't you hit us with your number three worst jersey of all time?
All righty. Okay, so I'll set this up by saying that this is particularly disappointing, given that the uh, team, the Vancouver Canucks, won my greatest jersey of all time. But as I mentioned when I was talking about them before, is no team has a greater chasm between their best branding and their worst branding. And there's a couple things that I hate about. First of all, if you look at Native American, Canadian Aboriginal art, uh, they can represent a killer whale without the big fin here. So if you wanted to make a C to represent Canucks, you don't have to put this giant fin on top. So that logo has always irritated the crap out of me. I hate it. I love the Aboriginal orca art, and they figured out a way to ruin that. But just the monstrosity of this color combination and this gradient is one of the worst things I've ever seen. And what makes it even worse is that they made this the basis for a reverse retro. They
You
did this
didn't like
stupid they did this stupid thing in green and black too. So they compounded a mistake and made it a double mistake. That one didn't make the top because I like the colors a little bit better, but this is awful.
I agree. I will say I do kind of like when it's just a stripe, I don't hate it that much. I think the gradient was really bad. There was something about the 90s when they tried the gradient. I disagree with you on them bringing it back with the reverse retro. I loved when teams embraced the more embarrassing side of their past for the reverse retro because that was the theme. It was meant to be fun, whether it was Tampa with the Storm jersey or Buffalo with the Paddington Bear. So I disagree on the reverse retro, but yeah, this jersey is ugly, which is kind of why I'm glad they brought it back for the reverse retro.
Continuing on with the Canucks, um, this could have easily been the worst jersey of all time, and I would have gone with both the black version and the yellow version, but the yellow is particularly egregious. Um, the I picked Tiger Williams here because I don't know if you know this, but he grew up in Weyburn and was an arch nemesis of your great grandma Jean. They hated each other, so I made him wear this jersey in this worst jersey competition. So I think I don't know if you know the story behind the jerseys. They hired some university consultant to come up with an intimidating jersey, and this is what they came up with. And you can see it's a complete disaster. The basis of it was is that the colors black and yellow and throw in a little bit of red. That combination is intimidating, but I don't think they could have found a less intimidating way to combine it all.
Hey, flying V, that has the V shape with the duck. I do have some more comments, but I'll get into that in a little bit. I think you guys know it's already in my list, but where does it end up in my list is still a mystery as we get to the top two. So, all right, let me just share the screen again here. And I think I have one more. I have to show two pictures to illustrate how bad this jersey is because one picture doesn't do it justice. Coming up next, we have this is a shame because they have a great branding history, whether it's the goat head or their current branding with the beautiful blue and the beautiful goat head. Just amazing color scheme in the history of the Buffalo Sabres. They have great jerseys. This isn't me trying to crap on Buffalo in any other way because their jersey history in general is pretty good. Even when they went to this color scheme, still good jerseys, except for this one. This one is so bad. And it looks here, I don't think it looks as bad. It looks pretty plain. The socks, like the deep blue on the socks, kind of clash a little bit. There's some gray on the sleeves that don't work. Like it just looks like a normal bad jersey until you get to the back of the jersey. They had blue on the back. They had one color in the front be yellow, and they had one color on the back be dark blue. So it looked like they were wearing a cape. I do not know why they thought of this, how that passed, how multiple people approved it. They made it in this concept and thought it was a good idea. I think it's just truly terrible. Like just the whole jersey as a whole. It's so bad. One image doesn't do it justice. Now I'm wondering what your thoughts are on this jersey.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was reminiscent a little bit of almost a rip-off of the Predators. And I hadn't seen this jersey and I didn't realize that they had done that abomination on the back. That's the dumbest thing well, not the dumbest, but it's close to the dumbest thing I've seen in jerseys. So yeah, I mean they managed to mess up what could have been a decent jersey. And then, I guess they made it so that you could never wear that as a home jersey because yeah, Nashville can wear their yellow as a home jersey, but if with that blue on the back, it would just be confusing as a home jersey, because you could be playing against a blue team,
Yeah,
right?
that.
So
Hmm.
so they, I mean, not that that's a big deal, but why limit yourself like that?
Yeah, and then of course number one. Now you guys saw me click on it when screen share kind of messed me up, but is of course the flying V. I picked the same image. By coincidence, I didn't know the history of my great grandma Jean, but that is kind of funny that I did pick that guy wearing the same thing. It is terrible. It's probably the worst jersey in the history of hockey. I think Buffalo's, when they put the blue on the back, is really close. This is really close. However, they still had the black V come down. The shade of yellow they went with is ugly, but it's so ugly I almost love it. It's the worst jersey in hockey, but it's almost beautiful and how ugly it is. The black one is still really ugly, but I think this one is actually worse by a lot. And it might not be a coincidence that yellow's on here twice. So, but yeah, I know you already made your comments on it, but that those are my top two worst jerseys of all time. I think the Buffalo one is just hilarious with the blue backs, but that's my list, and I do love this one. You know, if you're ever graduating and you lose your gown, you can wear this instead.
That is true. But it is, that is actually a beautiful jersey when you compare it to this flaming pile of shit right here.
Your hatred of Vegas is the funniest
This
thing.
this is the this is the biggest piece of crap I've ever seen in my life. Start at the top. The, okay, maybe shiny works in certain situations, but not, definitely not in hockey as a rule. And then when you start to combine it with the just complete mishmash of about 10 different colors and a terrible logo on a garbage organization that doesn't even belong in the league, then you have the worst
But
jersey
they
in
won the
history.
cup this year. How can they not belong in the league if they won
It
the
was
cup?
handed to them. They started on third and thought they hit a home run. I'm just going to keep saying that about the goddamn Golden Knights. And then they have the audacity to wear this jersey. Like, just make it clean. But no, we got to put two different colors. Fingers are different colors. What are these, driving gloves? I don't know. I don't know what they're after here. But it's
I
so bad. I can't even begin.
I actually think the goal. I actually don't mind this jersey. I think it was nice before they added the chrome helmet. I don't know who thought of chrome helmets. LA still did it bad, but LA found a way to do the chrome helmets better than even they did. But the glittery gold jersey, I actually think is worse, which was going to be on my number five between that or the Motorists, but I went with the Canes as an olive branch. So this I don't disagree that their branding is not good. However, the charcoal jersey I think is the best jersey they've had.
The charcoal would be fine if they didn't ruin it with so much other stuff going on, right? Like that charcoal is not a bad color, but they've got way too many other
Yeah.
things going on here for it to be it's just too busy, and that's why it wound up on the top of my list. Now, speaking of busy jerseys, um, this will transition us nicely into our next topic. But this is my honorable mention because it's a jersey that's currently being used. I didn't put it in my top five, but it's definitely in the top five of worst jerseys all time. So just well, we've been through it. It's got the swirl. That's a horrible logo, and then they've got too much busy stuff going on here. And you look at Rod. Well, why is Rod screaming? A, it's because he has to wear this jersey, and then B, it's because he knows in this
That's
moment.
not even the worst Hurricanes jersey. It's not even
It's,
close. It's one of the better Hurricanes
he
jerseys.
knows in this moment he's never going to get into the Hockey Hall of Fame.
No,
That's what he's
that
screaming.
jersey is beautiful. You look at this, the silver looks nice. The storm flag also very nice. And then you have the silver, white, and black. They tried it when they got rid of the silver. It didn't look as good. The storm flag is a very nice, unique branding without being too obnoxious. I think the socks kind of clashed a little bit, but other than that, that's fine. And I actually think the black stripe on the pants created some nice separation instead of having a little, quite a bit of black and then just nothing but red on the bottom. So I disagree. It's not even the worst jersey the Hurricanes have worn. I've shown you the worst jersey the Hurricanes have worn, and Rod Brind'Amour is absolutely a Hall of Famer. But I'll let you start when you talk with your nonsense here.
So what I was going to say about the Hockey Hall of Fame is if you're looking at let's just talk about NHLers versus AHLers, right? And there's this whole concept of tweeners. These are guys that they're certainly good enough to play in the NHL, right? But they're not horrible players. They knock it out of the park in the AHL, but they're a tweener because they just can't quite get over the hump in the NHL, and there's more deserving candidates to get into the NHL. Maybe guys that are a little more specialized, do a little bit more, shoot better, whatever. To me, Brind'Amour, the biggest knock of him not going into the Hall of Fame is that he's a Hall of Fame tweener, right? He had a great career, but there are just too many other more worthy candidates. And so I don't see him ever getting in. Other than, he may get there as a coach, as a builder, but as a player, he's just not quite there.
Okay, so before I say anything, keep in mind what you just said. You conceded he could potentially go in as a builder, he could potentially go in as a coach, while also potentially going in as a Hall of Fame member. I used to understand why Rod Brind'Amour did not belong in the Hall of Fame. However, with some of the recent inductees they have inducted, I think that argument has been null and void because of some of the players they've inducted. So let's start with Rod Brind'Amour. He is with 1,184 points. He's one of the few players to cross the 1,000 point mark. More, and not only that, get 100 more points, which if you get 100 points in the NHL, that's a good career. So Rod Brind'Amour got, well, not like on the scale of
I mean,
NHLers, but he
but
got,
yeah, I mean, but Wayne Gretzky played the exact same number of games, and had
where does
2,857
Wayne
points.
Gretzky where does Wayne Gretzky rank on all-time best hockey players of all time?
He's up there. He's up there.
Yeah, he's up
He's a
there.
Hall of
He
Famer,
had a
and he's
decent
got
career.
2.5 times as many points as Rod Brind'Amour.
Okay, but let's talk about now. I'm not saying Rod Brind'Amour is better than all of these players, okay? But keep in mind when I bring up how Brind'Amour has more points than the following players. He's not better than all of them, but in his career, he has gotten more points than them while also being one of the best defensive forwards in his prime. He has more points than Bobby Hull, Daniel Alfredson. He also won a cup, something Daniel Alfredson didn't do. Daniel Alfredson is in the Hall of Fame. Mike Bossy, one of the best goal scorers of all time. Brind'Amour stayed healthy enough to surpass him in points. Frank Mahovlich, one of the greatest Toronto Maple Leafs of all time. Henrik and Daniel Sedin. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. Should have put my phone on silent, but he has points more than both the Sedins, who also got into the Hall of Fame this year. He has more points than Martin St. Louis. Marty St. Louis, I don't exactly know if he's a Hall of Famer. I think he is deserving. Alex Mogilny, a competitor of Rod's to get in the Hall of Fame. I understand with Alex Mogilny and his ability to be the first player to defect from Russia. If Alex Mogilny got inducted and Rod Brind'Amour didn't, I understand that one in itself. However, Rod Brind'Amour has more points than him, more points than Patrice Bergeron. An heir apparent to Rod Brind'Amour is one of the best defensive forwards in the game and won quite a few Selkies as well. Patrice Bergeron absolutely going to go into the Hall of Fame, but Rod Brind'Amour got more points than him.
You can't talk about hypotheticals. You cannot top. We don't know. And first of all, Patrice Bergeron is a much better player than Rod Brind'Amour. But the fact that he's not in yet, you cannot use him as an argument.
Okay, so that's one that you don't have an argument. However,
Mike Bossy scored 50 goals in 50 games, and he had a 140-point season. Rod Brind'Amour never even
Rod
had a
Brind'Amour got
100-point
more
season.
points than him.
He never even had,
no, I'm not done. I'm not done.
The length of career does not dictate
I'm not done. Rod Brind'Amour has more points than Maurice Richard, Bobby Orr, Scott Stevens, Peter Forsberg, Eric Lindros, who also never won a Stanley Cup, Ted Lindsay, and Cam Neely. Not only that, he is in top 25 in games played. The player one spot above him, Wayne Gretzky. So Rod Brind'Amour is on par with Wayne Gretzky in that respect. He's won 2 Selkies in 07, 08, an IHF gold in 94, a silver in the World Cup of Hockey in 1996, over 100 points in the playoffs on teams that were fringe playoff teams. Still managed to get 100 points. In playoff years, he was a point per game player in the 89-90 playoffs. And in the dead puck era, managed to get 21 points in 19 games played, and in 05-06 won a cup as a captain.
So just being a captain doesn't get you into the Hall of Fame.
It's
We
one of the
know that.
factors.
We've talked. It is a
They fact
factor, but he doesn't have enough in his favor. So first of all, a couple things about the players that you mentioned. Bossy for sure. You can't even.
I'm not saying Rod
And
Brind'Amour was better than
and the
them.
Sedins, by the way, you mentioned them as well. They both won Hart trophies. They both won scoring titles. Brind'Amour never did that. So let's just cross them off the list because we know that winning the Stanley Cup is not a requirement to get in the Hall of Fame. There's too many
They
teams.
have held that
You
against
cannot play
people. They have held that against
as a
people
part
when
of
not putting them in.
the um, overall factors that they're
So
that
okay, so the Hart Trophy for the Sedins cancel out, and so cancel out with Brind'Amour being able to lift the cup as the captain, may I mind you.
they were dominant players in their era. They ruled the Western Conference. They came within a sea hair of getting the Stanley Cup. They lost to Boston in Game 7. So it's they made that franchise dominant for the better part of 10 years. Brind'Amour never made his team dominant for an extended period of time. Yes, they as the worst team to ever win the Stanley Cup, the weakest team to ever win the Stanley Cup. Yeah, they won. They beat the Oilers, right? The Oilers had upset the Red Wings and were on a Cinderella story, and it just he was the captain of a Cinderella story. That's
Hey,
all he's got going
Carolina
for him.
didn't know.
That's the
Carolina
only
did
debate.
not just go through weak teams. That you know who else they came across? The New Jersey team that came off 3 Stanley Cups in less than 10 years. Carolina faced them in the playoffs in 06. Them winning was not that long ago. New Jersey continued to be a dominant team. Carolina beat them in 5 that year. That core also got to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2002. They also got to the Eastern Conference Finals in 2009. Also, when you go back even further, he was part of the Legion of Boom with the Philadelphia Flyers, and they got to the Stanley Cup Finals in, I believe,
He was
1997.
not a part of the Legion of Boom. The Legion of Boom was Lindros and Renberg and Leclerc. He was not on that line. He was
Okay, wasn't
now
on that
he
line.
kind of rode their coattails. I
He
mean,
was the
he
second
was.
line center for
Yeah,
one of the
you
best
damn
teams
right
to
he was
never
the
win the
second line
Stanley
center.
Cup.
He wasn't the he they never won the Stanley Cup. They got to the finals. Yeah, they didn't win the
Yeah.
Stanley Cup.
And he was a
So
point per game
but
player
let's
for
talk
that
about his
run.
time in Philadelphia. What happened in Philadelphia? Why did he have to leave Philadelphia? By all accounts, there was some funny business going on behind the scenes, and Rod got traded because he beat up Eric Lindros. So then my question becomes, okay, if you look at Rod Brind'Amour, supposed leader in a time when fighting was a part of the game, a guy who was tough enough to beat up Eric Lindros, why is it that his mitts were glued on his entire career? He
He
never
fought
once
Matthew
fought
Barnaby.
one fight in his entire career. Come on, if you're going to be a leader, lead.
He was
It's
a
not
leader.
leading.
He was a leader. He was
Not with
he
your
was
mitts
such
glued
a
on.
big part of the 06 Stanley Cup Finals run. You know who gave the pregame speech before the Game 7 game against Buffalo, which was probably their toughest test in that whole playoff series? It was Rod Brind'Amour. You know who got the huge series clinching goal against those Buffalo Sabres? Rod Brind'Amour. You know who's one of the few Canes to score on Dwayne Rollison before Dwayne Rollison got hurt? Rod Brind'Amour.
I'm just surprised he wasn't the one to run Rollison. That's what I'm surprised about,
Yeah,
because that's his form
you're
of leadership.
resorting to hypotheticals. We're like, oh, this is his form of leadership when you were using that against me when people look at Patrice Bergeron. Patrice Bergeron and Rod Brind'Amour had very similar careers. And if you're gonna say, and a lot of people say Patrice Bergeron is a no doubt Hall of Famer, when you look at the standings and you look at some of the people they've inducted in, like Daniel Alfredson, Henrik and Daniel Sedin, both I can understand why they went into the Hall of Fame. They should not be in the Hall of Fame before Rod.
Here's a list of I'll give you a list of 3 players that need to go in before Rod Brind'Amour, before I sign off on Rod Brind'Amour getting into the Hall of Fame, because I'm not signing off on him in the Hall of Fame until these 3 guys are in the Hall of Fame. Number 1, Theo Fleury. Okay, he has played the he was a point a game player, also a Stanley Cup winner, and he had multiple 100-point seasons. Okay, he was dangerous his entire career. He was the type of player that could change a game even at 5'7" or whatever he is. He was 1,000 in 1,084 games. He was 1,088 points. So right there, he's Brind'Amour looks like he's about 0.8 points per game, whereas Fleury is a point a game, and he's got the same Stanley Cup resume, and not only that, those Flames teams had to overcome the Oilers dynasty to get not the Oilers 2006 team that was on a Cinderella story run. That Flames team
No,
had to
actually,
go through the Oilers
they didn't.
dynasty to
They
win
had
a
to go
Stanley
through
Cup.
Wayne Gretzky's LA Kings because Wayne Gretzky's LA Kings upset the Oilers in the 89 playoffs. Although I agree, Hayden Fleury should go into the Hall of Fame. Or Theo
Hayden,
Fleury, my bad.
I
I
think
heard.
Hayden Fleury is not going to be in that
I
Hall of
agree
Fame.
with that.
Okay, a couple other guys that I think merit strong consideration before Brind'Amour. Number one is Bobby Smith, also a Stanley Cup winner with some pretty weak Minnesota teams. He had roughly a point a game, over 1,000 points, and just as long as a career. So I think he's got a better case for
How many
for the
points
Hall
does
of
he
Fame.
have?
Over 1,000,
Well,
roughly the
how many?
same. I don't
How
have it
many?
in front of me.
Oh,
It's
well, there you go.
but he had multiple 100-point seasons. And then the other guy that I think needs to go in, who's a dark horse, much more of a dark horse than Brind'Amour, is Bernie Nichols. Here's a guy who he had a 150-point season. Not only did he have a long career, well over 1,000 points, he had a 150-point season with 70 goals. Would Rod Brind'Amour have ever even come close to that? No, he wouldn't. He topped out at
But he
97,
played.
riding the coattails of
He
your
played.
beloved Legion of
He
Boom. He
he
had only 97
he
points.
no, not only did he have 97 points, sure, he never peaked. If he had like if his career was 5 seasons shorter, I would concede. And you know the flaw in you bringing up those guys, I actually agree. Theo Fleury is a guy I would argue deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Alex McGillney, I brought up, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame for sure. Those two guys, I would say, even should go over Rod Brind'Amour, over Alfredson, over the Sedins. However, when you look at Rod Brind'Amour's career, the argument isn't, oh, these four guys should get in before Rod. It should Rod be in the Hall of Fame. Rod Brind'Amour deserves to be in the Hall of Fame just
I
because a
just
guy
told you
like
why you
Bernie
have to
Nichols,
consider that.
Theo Fleury,
He's
no,
a tweener.
Theo
He's a Hall of
Fleury,
Fame tweener.
Theo
Just like an
Fleury.
AHL
If
player
you
can
look at
play in the
Theo
NHL,
Fleury,
some of them, but
the
they don't
Sedins,
belong there because there's more deserving candidates. I
if
set you up for this the whole way along.
no,
He's
no,
a
no.
tweener.
I'm not saying Rod Brind'Amour. You're not arguing Rod Brind'Amour shouldn't go into the Hall of Fame anymore. You're saying these guys should go in before.
There's only
That
so
the
many
topic
spots.
at
Just
hand
like there's
is
only so many
Rod
spots in the
Brind'Amour. Is Rod Brind'Amour a Hall of Famer? That's the argument at hand here. Not should X, Y, or B go in before Rod Brind'Amour. I think Theo Fleury should go in. But I would say Theo Fleury is the only name you mentioned who should go in before Rod Brind'Amour because Rod Brind'Amour was a second line center longer than some great players have careers. So that's the end of the discussion, everyone. Comment below who do you think won the debate. But yeah, we're running low on time here, so we are going to have to cut it off a little bit early. However, Rod Brind'Amour is absolutely a Hall of Famer. Thank you guys for watching, and let us know who you thought won the debate.
Stay horny, my friends.
Oh my God, you're a buffoon.